Good evening, everyone. I am Danny Nicole, and I'm your host of Book Talk Author Visibility Podcast. I have invited back an author, Bryant E. White, because he has a second book that he is going to talk about and share with us on this episode tonight. So I'm going to go ahead without further ado. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Bryant E. White. He can tell us again where he's from, who he is, and the book he will talk about today. So go ahead, Brian.
Good evening. My name is Bryant E. White. I'm from Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'm 45 years old, and I started writing a couple years back, but really didn't get anything published until December of last year. So it's been an incredible journey for me.
Okay. And so the book you're going to talk about today is this is your second book?
Yes, ma'am. And I've published 3 books since the last time we talked.
Oh wow, you've been busy.
Yes, I've been busy. I've been a little bit busy.
Okay. So give us the title of this book and give us a synopsis of what the book is about.
Okay. The title of my second book is Creation to Creation. So, of course, it covers the actual original creation, but it covers some people might not know that Jesus had to recreate the tree of life. That's part of the reason why he was here. So, a lot of his works that he did, all of the works that he did coincide with the days of original creation. Case in point, he died and went to hell for 3 days and then was resurrected on the third day. Well, the third day of creation is the first day that life ever came onto the earth, type of a thing. So everything coincides. They have a verse where it says the earth was void and the spirit of God move over the waters. You familiar with that verse?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, Jesus walked on water because he's the spirit of
Yeah,
God.
yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? So it all coincides with each other. So, it kind of gives people a different way of reading the Bible and seeing that, God did inspire the writings of the Bible, because no man could come up with being able to intertwine what Jesus is doing with the first part of the Bible and get away with it, type of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I was sitting there reading one night, and I got to that part where he died and was risen on the third day, and I was like, "Hold up, third day." So I hustled back to the Genesis, and I'm looking, I'm like, "Get out of here," type of a thing. So I'm like, God, you work in mysterious ways because you just gave me something, type of a thing that I never even thought even existed. So I just wanted to give it to people, just like I got it, something that might blow their minds also.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at me trying to fix this here. Yeah, you just saying that it's got me thinking like wow, I never would have, like you said, put that together in that
Hmm.
manner. So I appreciate you sharing that. And so then it was at that moment you said, you want to write about it, right? You
Yes,
wanted
ma'am.
to go ahead and share with your audience, the readers, how that all coincides. And so the book is published or
Yes,
is
ma'am. It's
it
published.
okay? So the book is published, and what's the title again? I'm sorry.
Creation to creation.
Creation to creation. So it's kind of intertwining the creation of, and the first creation with God, with Jesus,
Yes, ma'am. With his recreation of the tree
with
of
his
life. Because the
creation.
tree of life got broken by Lucifer because he tried to it's kind of a long story, but I'm not
Okay.
gonna get into the long story. But basically Lucifer had permission to create the physical world, right? God gave him permission. The only thing that God didn't give him permission to do was create humans, and he tried to create humans, which that's where demons come from.
Mm.
So that's how he broke the tree of life. And Jesus had to come back and fix it by recreating it. And they destroy the old tree of life in Revelation.
Oh, okay.
I
I like
know
that.
it's a rather long story, but I try to give you a
Yeah.
synopsis of it.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Because that's I mean, wow. You- I like that. I like how you put that. So with this message, this particular book, what impact do you hope this story leaves for the readers?
Hopefully they'll get a better way of, I'm not gonna say the correct way because there's different ways to read the Bible, but get a different way of reading the Bible and being able to put more illusions that God has in there, not illusions, but illusions in there that God has together, so they can get a bigger picture of what the Bible is actually trying to convey. It's not just, a bunch of stories. The stories all have deeper meaning and they all intertwine with each other. There's a reason why those stories are actually in the Bible. It's not just the Jews not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the Old Testament, or having to do atonement rituals and all kind of stuff. There's a reason for everything in the Bible. And hopefully this book start them to understanding that point.
Okay, great, absolutely. Since we talked, you've been busy, and that's great. I mean, you're moving along here. So the other books, are they similar to what you've been writing or what you published?
Yes, ma'am. One is entitled From Creation to Revelation, where I basically go through and from creation to revelation and explain basically the Bible is all about the tree of life versus the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of life is Jesus, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil is Lucifer. He wanted good and evil to work together, but that's not how it worked. He wound up putting together the tree of death, while it being created, and that's what they chose. And they chose to be strict adversaries against God. So they in generally lost. So Revelation is basically the final battle between the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, because they had one battle when Lucifer got cast out of heaven with the third of the angels the first time. So basically, I go through and I give detailed information about a lot of major points in the Bible and how they refer or how they coincide with that same war. Just to give people a better understanding of what the Bible is actually about in as a whole.
Okay, absolutely. That's really good. And
Yes, ma'am.
so, are your books on Amazon or do you have a website?
They're all on Amazon. They're all on
Okay.
Amazon. I guess I have been busy. The last book that I published was, I think, 2 or 3 days ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's called Save Self. And basically, it's like the methods of Jesus. Jesus was teaching us to save ourselves, and I guess not just rely on him or God to do it. He was teaching us how to actually save ourselves, and it goes through his parables and everything that he was teaching, and breaks it down and shows you how he was teaching us to save ourselves and get our own salvation.
Okay. That sounds really good. Sounds really enlightening. Like you said, how more in depth the Bible really is if we just get into it and get off the surface and get deeper
Yes,
into
ma'am.
what God is really trying to tell us as believers, and like you said, it's intertwining things together, that we get a deeper understanding of God's word. So that's
Yes, ma'am.
great. That's great.
Correct.
You have really been doing your due diligence, Brian. You've been really
I try. This is what I do.
yeah, and it sounds like it's what you love and you want to share the knowledge that you have with others. And
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what it's about, telling the story, taking what you've learned and sharing with others so they can get the knowledge as well. So you do kudos, thumbs up.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm trying.
Okay, so what would you say to a writer who is not yet ready to share their work? How would you encourage them to tell their story?
You mean as far as they've already written it or they haven't started writing yet?
If they haven't started writing it, because I've come across some emerging or persons who want to be authors who want to write and they're afraid to share their story, but they have some
Oh,
stories, they have some stories, they have some knowledge that someone can reciprocate. But how do we get them out of that shell? How do we get them to come forth, if to share their story? What would you advise, or what would you say?
I got a phrase that my brother that passed away used to use. Sometimes you just got to grab the bull by the horns, type of a thing. Just put pen to paper and start writing, and write, if even if not starting off, you're not writing for other people's enjoyment or for conversation. Just writing can be therapeutic to get things out of your head. You can deal with past traumas and all kind of stuff by just writing and let it turn into whatever it turns into.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to another author a couple of weeks ago, and the journaling that they started doing, they just journaled because they needed to get some things off their chest and on the paper, and then they decided, I want to share this now. And that journaling
Mm-hmm.
became the book. So, right, even if it's just getting it out, writing it, and you may not think right now I'm going to publish anything, but I want to get it out some kind of way. So I'm going to write it on paper, and then it might lead to that, but just get it out, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Express yourself, even if it's just for yourself. You
Right,
know,
right, right.
very therapeutic.
Even if it's never published, it's therapy. It's therapeutic to just get it out on paper and then see where it goes and then
Correct.
go from there. Great. Absolutely. Okay, so I need you to tell our listeners where they can find you on social media, where they can find your book.
Okay. The only social media that I have right now is Facebook, and that's Bryant E. White. I'm a Freemason, so you can see the icon. It has a Freemason standing, with the moonlight. That'll be me. My books are all on Amazon as of right now. I'm doing all my marketing myself as of now because all the publishers that can get rather expensive for marketing and promotions. So I'm doing everything myself as of right now. So they're just on Amazon.
Okay, great. And so this is to the listeners. You've heard it from Bryant, where you can follow him and where you can get his books. They're on Amazon. And if this episode did inspire you, other listeners, feel free to leave a comment, like it, share it with others so that they might also hear the inspiring messages that Brian has shared with us on for the second time. So I got him back because I said, oh, I got to know what Brian got going on. If you're listening and you're an aspiring or an emerging author who wants to share your writing journey and talk about your books, you can follow me, Danny Nicole, on Facebook. And I have a Facebook called Book Talk, Author Visibility Podcast. Message me. We'll get you on. Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about your journey because I want to hear your story, right? We were just talking about it's okay to share your story because there just might be one person who can relate.
That's one person's life you can change.
Yes, absolutely. And we're about changing lives, encouraging people to be their best self, right? And we can start with one book and lead to many others as
Exactly.
as Brian has done. So thank you, Brian, again for being on here. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. And we follow each other on Facebook. So again, thank you. And you have a good night.
You do the same, ma'am. Thank you again.
You're welcome.